So I have a self-admitted car buying problem, and when you're friends with the likes of Mr. Ed Bolian, he tends to enable that problem. And because he's always sending you cars, and he's like, "Hey, look at this," and he's lately been in the mood that he has too many cars and he doesn't have enough space and whichever. So I think deep down he knows that he can pawn these off on me. We had done a lot more work on Lamborghinis than Ferraris, and I'd always had that affinity from video games and stuff. Being a kid and playing with them and so forth. I think it was a couple years ago. We got our first a row of 360s rolling into the shop. Man, fell in love immediately. Had a few that got some extended test drives, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And I knew Ed had a bunch of experience with these, so of course I discussed it with him. I'm like, should I own one? I really enjoy this. Did you enjoy yours just as much as this? And of course he agreed with my lust for such car. And at the time, they were running $70,000, $80,000, which was more than anything I'd ever bought and more than I needed to spend with, two young kids and a wife and a growing business and a business partner that fusses at me for spending too much money. I was always on the search and could never ever make something work. And I came up in this point in my life where some big changes in life where timing wasn't exactly right. And I had just bought another car as sort of a coping mechanism for this thing that happened. And sure enough, 2 weeks after I buy this Viper, Ed texts me. He says, "Hey Cameron, my old 360's up for sale and I think you should buy it." First question, of course, is how much? And it was a very attractive number. So I asked Ed, what's the catch? And he's like, well, this, that, and the other, and I don't have room for it. But if you ever decide to sell it, you got to call me first. And I'm like, I'll take that deal. That's a good deal. So this was a prior rental car for Ed back in college, and I think is one of the most high mileage 360s out there. It is a gray market car, so it is in kilometers, but 112,000 kilometers, so right at 70,000 miles or just over. So for a Ferrari, that is a proper high mileage. So thankfully, my wife is very understanding with my car purchasing decisions, and I asked her about it, and I said, well, honey, Ed wants me to buy this car. And she's like, is this for you, or are you going to make money on this? That's about the only question she ever asked me. So I'm thankful to have that in my life. And she's like, well, didn't you just buy the other car? And I'm like, yeah, but this is a great deal, and it's going to appreciate. It's got the Ed factor going on and the whole bit. And I just want it is the real answer. I kind of softened the blow, which you can see right through it. But I softened it, and I was like, well, I got to buy this car. And I set up the whole transaction, and running a business, I try not to leave a whole lot. You kind of get that owner's guilt of being away. So I'm like, I'm just going to set up transport for this car. It's out in Missouri. We're in Georgia. I'm like, hey, it's not hateful, I'll find an enclosed trailer or something. So it goes by for like a week, and, I'm getting blown up about this car, just left and right. Hi, pick up Ferrari. Hi, pick up Ferrari, whichever. Every time I look, I'm like, this one's kind of sketchy. So I keep waiting, I hold out, and still not finding anybody. Finally, I find this guy that I'm like, you know what? Send me a picture of your trailer. And he sends me the most pixelated Google picture of, it must have been from it was a Ferrari California behind this enclosed trailer. And it must have been like 140p. It was truly pixelated and terrible. And I'm like, will you look at this? So I sent it to a bunch of my buddies. I sent it to my cop buddy Jordan and to Doug Tabbitt. He's got a bunch of transporter stories. And both of them had about the similar response of, do you want a Ferrari to show up? Of course, I say yes. So I had to make the decision that we're going to have to fly in and drive this car back. And I'm like, I don't want to do this alone. I hit up my buddy Jordan. I said, so how do you feel about going on a flight to pick up a car and drive a Ferrari back? And of course, he's another car guy. And he's like, absolutely, we are going to fly and drive a Ferrari 900 miles. So we booked flights last minute. He's bugging me. He's like, are we doing this? Are we doing this? And in that time, the flight doubled. But we still bit the bullet. And we took a late night flight out to Missouri. Out we go into Missouri, leaving Georgia in, I think it was November. So it's, mild in Georgia in that part of the winter. We get out of the airport there, and I think both of us were in shorts still. And we are freezing. There's actually snow flurries as we walk out of the airport. Thankfully, from knowing people around the country, I've got a niece that lives there, and they left a truck for us. So we hop in this truck, and, it's 11 o'clock at night, I think. Thankfully, the guy that's selling us the car was still agreeable to meet us. We get up to the car, and you can hear it running through the warehouse it's stored in. Like, I'm never a big fan of cars already being running when you're going to pick them up. Usually you want to hear them start and so forth. But we go in, we're looking around it, and of course I'm super excited because this is also Ed's old car. So I'm like sending him pictures and, excited about the whole experience. And I'm talking to the guy and he's like, oh, the battery was dead and, it's a newer battery, but I jumped it off. So we're like, whatever. We'll just move on. It's 11 o'clock. We just, flew a flight. We're all tired and we just want to go. We do the paperwork, get on the way, and it is proper freezing, but it was only about a mile to where we were staying. So we had a good night's sleep, got up at, 5 in the morning, something like that. I tried to do it true Ed style and get up first thing in the morning and just drive straight through. Of course, the car is as dead as can be, which thankfully, while intentional or not, I do not know, the jump box stayed in the car from the night before. So we were very thankful for this in the morning, as it was like 15 or 20 degrees outside, which for, two boys that live in Georgia was proper freezing. It's still dark. We get the thing to start and it is so properly dead. The lights are flickering and like the engine's trying to cut out and nothing's open. So we're just like, you know what, we'll just drive it, Again, I kind of do things somewhat the opposite of Ed, After working on cars all the time, I'm like, he brings the whole road trip box and he's all prepared. So I do the exact opposite of that. I'm like, let's just see what happens. We start driving and just freezing. The heat's barely working in this thing. The passenger window has a gap about this big. It is a proper Ed car after all, even all these years later. Freezing along, going along the way, lights are flickering, and we're just hoping that it'll eventually charge enough by the time, we kind of have to calculate how much gas and how much battery life we have. We get going pretty good and going along the highway, and, we kind of feel things are not quite 100% in the suspension of this car. And keep in mind, we didn't check absolutely anything. But we get to our, I think it's our second gas stop. We're like, should we check anything? And so I checked the oil, and there was like a tire pressure gauge off to the side, like one of the quarter ones. And we both look at each other, shivering still, and we're like, nah, we're not gonna do that. So we checked the oil. That was fine. It was clean enough. It was full. So yeah, that's all we need here, right? We just need oil. So at this point, we had switched driving positions, and Jordan's getting a feel for it. He's like, and he had made fun of me to the whole point of telling him I was buying this car. He called it the C-Class Ferrari. And I told him, no, this is actually really good, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, C-Class Ferrari. And I'm like, fine, you know what? We're going to prove you otherwise. But he's driving along, and he's like, what is this thing supposed to do? And I get out, Google, it's like 186 or something. And without missing a beat, I didn't even get to turn and look at him. Wah! He lays into it, and he goes up through multiple gears and into speeds we will not mention here. And he's like, nah. Something's wrong, because we were not getting the speed that it said it was supposed to do. And right at the crest of a speed, that we get this horrendous flapping noise, and just it sounds like this car is coming apart. And I'm like, did he blow the engine? Like, I'm turning around looking for smoke, like smelling. I'm like turning on all the senses, like what just happened? Because being a mechanic at heart, all of the things rush into your head. Mainly, what pain and what expense am I going to go through to fix this? And how much trouble Andy's going to give me when I get back to the shop and kill a lift for trying to fix this thing. We kind of slow down and the flapping stops. And then we speed up and it starts again. And we're like, okay, I think we know what this is. This is like some kind of panel has decided it does not want to participate anymore. After that, no more excessive speeds were able to be reached. And we had to keep it at around 80, 85. So we were still able to keep a good speed. Anything more than that just caused death noise. And that turned out to be just an under panel later that it had been, I think there's about a third of it left. It's this massive under panel under the car. If you look on eBay, they're all over the place because I guess they're super troublesome because it is just such a large piece. Thankfully, and after our fifth gas stop, the battery was actually charged up enough, and so things were on the upside. We made it to Georgia, no fuss, and all was great. I thank Jordan for a super fun trip because it also had a terrible radio in it, so it became a conversation-only trip, which was wonderful. Next day, I get it into the shop, and the first thing we do is check the tire pressure, to which all were about 12 to 14 psi. And guys at the shop were not impressed with that, but we made it. So I feel like the mantra of just see what happens worked out for us in our favor. But had the car for a number of months now, and it's been good to me. I did have to put an alternator on it, which is probably our fault for maxing it out for a whole 12 hours or whatever it took. But now I own Ed's old Ferrari 360.
The Ticket Clinic just launched a brand new podcast, so click the bubble on your screen or the link in the description to subscribe now and get all of Mark Gold's great expertise. And of course, the Ticket Clinic is still here to fight a ticket no matter where you get one. So check them out now to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.